Speeches from a wide variety of people in support of Julian Assange, including from his family, including from his wife Stella Assange, and from Gabriel Shipton, his brother. I've got Gabriel Shipton here with me. Gabriel, how are you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good. I think it's encouraging that the judges rejected the prosecution's arguments today and gave Julian full appeal on the appeal point that we expected on, the freedom of expression and the non-discrimination points. So I think that will be heard around the world now, and I'll travel to Washington tomorrow to continue lobbying, and this is going to be one of our main things that we're going to be telling people, is that the First Amendment and freedom of expression is actually going to be on trial in the UK,
right,
ahead of any extradition. So I think it's really important and a good step forward and a thing that's going to propel us in this fight to free Julian.
I mean, you have logged so many miles. You have been all around the world. I mean, we were together in North Carolina a year or two ago. I mean, you have been everywhere supporting your brother, as well as supporting, press freedom, the right for people to read and say what they want. So what's the next step then? What you're going, obviously, you just said to Washington, D.C., but what's the next step for you?
We're continuing lobbying. We've got a resolution before the House, Resolution 934, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Yes.
We're continually adding Congress people as co-sponsors to that. So we're just going to keep working the levers in Congress and getting more people under that resolution, as well as making people aware in Congress of what's actually going on, what's at stake for Americans in this case, not just journalists around the world, but actually for Americans to actually know what their governments are doing, their ability to actually reason, take in this information and actually reason to make correct decisions about which governments they elect. And I think we're getting more and more traction. Every time I go there, we're getting more and more meetings, more and more Congress people and staff meeting with us. So we're feeling the momentum, and after today's decision, we're just going to fly in there tomorrow and smash it.
And so, what would you ask people to do? I mean, obviously, there's a wave of supporters around the world. It's growing. But how can people continue to support your brother, your family, and, of course, protect our rights?
Well, everything starts from the bottom. It all starts from people here protesting on the street, doing street actions, to going and seeing your representative, taking a group of people to go and see your rep, calling them, sending emails. We've seen over and over again in this campaign that it starts with a single action. It starts from the grassroots, and it works all its way up, to President Biden saying 3 weeks ago, last month, that he was considering the Australian request, and that's from the 90% popular support that exists in Australia, that the government is now advocating for Julian at the highest levels and getting those sorts of responses. So every action from the grassroots really counts. So emailing, calling your rep, turning up to actions, signing petitions, donating, whatever you can do, whatever you can manage, it all helps.
And I know you have to go, but any last words for the folks? We've got hundreds of thousands of people watching around the world. Any last words for the folks watching?
Yeah, to everyone who's been supporting, keep doing what you're doing. We couldn't do any of this work without you, without your support. Keep supporting, keep donating, keep signing petitions, keep going and seeing your reps. Because without you, we wouldn't get to this point where Julian is almost free.
Right. And if I could speak for everybody, we love and respect you and your family. God bless you all. Free Julian.
Yeah, free Julian. Free Julian.
All right, thanks, Gabriel.
That was brilliant. But he's signed petitions, but none of them have got them to publish it on the Parliament website, which is one of the main things that makes it official. The problem is that with the Insulate Britain injunctions, it was never recorded on paper as being Insulate Britain or any political rights being in question, because they put it through as unknown persons. So on paper, anyone who looked through that case and found the case and the case number and read through it, it wasn't Insulate Britain, and there weren't any political people involved, right? So, but obviously in all the newspapers it was, but the court files aren't the newspaper. If you go back in time to, whatever, and look through the court cases, it only tells you what's in the court case archives. You'd have to go through all the newspapers and try and find names and so forth, but by just looking at the court records, it doesn't say anything like that. So if the court records are in order and correct, and this is what Max Hill did as well, with Angela Ditchfield and, the painting, why didn't use the town and country planning to recognise the rights, because it's just a woman causing criminal damage on paper. On paper, it's just a woman who caused criminal damage, There aren't any rights, even though you're supposed to recognise them in the overriding objectives. And really, that, and same with Swift as well, in the case with Stop ULEZ, all those ULEZ fines, he knew something more about the Liberty of London, but he didn't let up on it, and he'd actually worked for government in finance, and he definitely wasn't going to undo it all. And then, obviously, when the government brings the cases, they're not putting everything down on paper or informing properly because they're omitting things out. I mean, that John McDonnell just said that the CPS are deleting emails and files and so forth, so that it's corrupt. And actually, I actually, that Gabriel Shipman, he, I ain't knocking him. I ain't knocking Stella Assange or Shipman or any of them, really. But, he said to sign petitions. What's the point of signing them? They're all on change.org. And if it's on, and then, Stella Assange and him have got to go into court and they've got to submit them as evidence. But when it's on Parliament, it's meant to have a automatic procedure process. It's filed, and this is why they don't want to publish any that have got any case numbers, reference numbers, or things that are going to cause action. In fact, they're trying to make out that they can't. Yeah, then you've got Jeremy Johnson, who's actually sitting the Assange case, who's saying the opposite, because he wrote a paper that the courts don't deal with Haddingfield, Parliament deals with it, criminal matters with Haddingfield. But then you've got the Petitions Committee saying, no, we don't do criminal matters here. While at the same time, you've got Johnson saying they do. So it's just like, and then you've got them putting through those post office offences, getting them overturned. So Cat Smith MP is literally like a 2-year-old in a candy store. It really, there may be books, gold-plated books in Parliament. There may be Erskine May's Parliamentary Archives, Parliamentary Guide that you can read through it. Probably, all the way through. I'm Erskine May, probably, right? Well, that's probably. It's not definitely or certainly, We can't have the Pussycat Dolls in Parliament, because when you get Cat Smith walking the terraced houses of Fleetwood Mac, handing flyers out, for Labour, and then popping into Parliament, I'm the chair of the Petitions Committee, it doesn't work properly. And whoever's advising her, I don't know who's advising her, who's got the degree in politics, right? But they're not advising her properly, they're not advising her correctly. And neither are the Minister of Justice or David Davis MP or whoever. It's in error. And it needs to get out of error. And then they're coming up with all these ridiculous excuses like, these petitions aren't fit. That how fit and far are they to be received? Well, what language is it in? English. Do you need it transcribing into Greek? This is a matter that Parliament deals with. The Prime Minister's public appointments. Shearing a sheep on Tuesday, pulling a pint on Wednesday, jumping out of an aeroplane on Thursday. And giving bacon sandwiches out on Friday. I want Rishi Sunak to give bacon sandwiches out on Tuesday at 6 o'clock for a publicity stunt for Parliament, right? Munster Raving Looney Party. So I don't know what the Petitions Committee are doing with all this rejection tosh. And it's also changing people's statements, modifying statements. You don't go into a court and then say, oh, I'm going to sue this man for tort. You know, he stole my jacket. You know, well, you don't get the judge going, oh, well, how about you sue him for stealing your socks instead, sir? We don't really do prosecutions against jacket theft here. You know, how's about if he borrowed your jacket or just damaged it? No, he definitely stole it. Well, maybe you ought to, I'll write my statement out, on a Thursday. You sure it was a Thursday, sir? Maybe it's a Wednesday. No, actually, I haven't actually submitted the evidence yet. I have got to do that myself and send it in. Yes, but, this court doesn't like, thefts. It prefers vandalisms. You know, this is it. But yeah, we've got these MPs in the Petitions Committee altering statements, censoring, editing evidence. And you might say, well, courts do that, reject cases or this and that. Yes, but you've got the legal right to petition the Parliament and King, and all the prosecutions against you for doing so are illegal. And commitments. So there are no commitments. You've got the right to do it and collect the signatures, which is evidence of public support. They're not even wanting to let you collect the evidence. And then there's this whole, maybe after you got 5 signatures or something that they can, all petitions can be acted on, if you've got your 5 signatures. But, when you're searching for them, they don't appear. Their files have been, this file does not exist. Why is it rejected or archived? This is the thing, something needs to be done about the primary school level parliament. Primary school level parliament. Which is basically what it is. You can't have very, very, very extremely serious matters, like a parking fine, and then the bailiffs are coming around to take your car. It's not even, it's just a parking fine you didn't pay. It's not like, he robbed a bank, but then the next thing they're coming for Verbs' car. But, that's at the bottom of the scale. You work up through the thefts and forgeries and murders, and grievous bodily harm, all the way up to the top. Right up to the top. Now let's get the tampon tax changed. Yes, now we get some serious evidence. This is the top. The dog's bollocks, the cream of the cream, 50 characters, it does take links, but, has anyone ever had a link published on there? It's off-site, we can't publish that. It might be, frivolous or fraudulent information, we'll be the judge of that. There's the people who are going to read it, decide whether they want to sign it, whether they believe it or not, these are the people deciding whether people are guilty or not of crimes. When actually, in fact, it turns out that, Parliament will suspend the rules. The peers of Parliament will suspend their own rules. Well, that's funny. I would go a petition, to block the HS2 tunnel. That's funny because I got half the village to sign it. And in fact, now we've got 100,000 signatures here. And our peers are suspending our rules. That means we're not going to prosecute each other. We're suspending our rules. How about that, Mr. Sunak? The pauper peers, we're suspending our rules in our little peerage, our little local yokel area. Turn the ULEZ cameras down, suspending the rules. Who will sign and subscribe to this? Suspending of the rules. Criminal damage. Suspending the rules. Mr. Sunak.